took over as the leading NWO group in June '98, doing some of the highest merchandise numbers of all time, with the new red and black line selling out in every building for over 50% of the company's total merchandise sales. Nash, Sting and Luger were involved in several tag matches defending the tag belts, along with mostly promo segments to hype up the crowds to massive reactions. After 3 hours of hype for the decision, Sting joined the Wolfpac on June 1st, with the show closing segment picking up over 600,000 viewers to a show-high 4.3 rating. The next week saw them again in the main event spot, building up Page's decision to join, while on June 15th the full crew bumped WCW over 900,000 viewers for a promo issuing an open challenge, closing the month doing the peak rating of the night in a tag titles match of Sting and Luger against Bulldog and Neidhart, drawing a 4.3 rating. The Goldberg hype was cemented further in June as the industry's next megastar, with his first merchandise line doing huge numbers and the company placing him in the key drawing spots on television. Goldberg was put in the main event quarter for the first time on June 8, going over Chavo Guerrero in a minute, while a week later the highlights of Goldberg's 100th victory the previous night over Conan, along with Hennig and Roots promo to build the first Goldberg vs Hennig match, did the peak of the night 4.6 rating. Goldberg was placed in the crossover segment at 9 p.m. on June 22 against Rick Fuller, leading to WCW opening with a 4.3 rating and beating Raw in the first head-to-head quarter for the first time in over 2 months, ending June in a match against Glacier that jumped over 800,000 viewers to a 4.1 rating. With WCW still not recovering from the lost momentum of the month of preemptions on TNT during April and May, Hulk Hogan's average along with WCW in general dropped significantly in June, but with hopes of building the numbers back up in the next month, with the company getting the most mainstream exposure in its history in the build to the Hogan and Rodman vs Page and Malone tag match. The biggest media exposure came on June 8 with Hogan coming out with Rodman hours after he didn't show up for team practice in the middle of the NBA Finals, with Hogan appearing all over the show, including a confrontation with Savage and Piper, drawing a 4.3 rating. Hogan's biggest number of the month came on June 22 in a promo to hype up the Bash at the Beach tag match, gaining over 600,000 viewers to a peak 4.5 rating, with the footage from The Tonight Show an hour earlier also outdrawing Raw with a 4.3 to 3.8 margin. Randy Savage, who alongside Hogan has been the top drawing performer in the business for the first 5 months of the year, and Roddy Piper were both only made 3 appearances during the month in the build-up to the Great American Bash tag match against Hogan and Brett, continuing to draw some of the highest numbers on every show for their segments, with Savage officially written off TV for the rest of the year due to knee surgery, doing an injury angle after a main event cage match against Page, drawing a 4.4 rating on June 15. Rock's role during the month was limited due to him undergoing knee operation that took him out of the ring for 2 weeks. A week before it, Rock's elimination tag match with The Nation against DX drew the peak rating of the night with a 4.8 rating on June 1, with Rock returning in the King of the Ring qualifier match against Vader on June 15. A week later, in the co-main event of Raw, Rock vs Triple H jumped over 700,000 viewers to a near-show high 4.5 rating, going head-to-head with another high-profile clash in the first-ever Bret Hart vs Chris Benoit match on TNT, opposite doing a 4.2. Ken Shamrock got the biggest push of his career up to that point in a King of the Ring final win against Rock to win the tournament, with Shamrock's biggest drawing night on TV to date happening on June 29, the day after the pay-per-view, as his follow-up winning promo jumped 900,000 viewers to a 5.5 rating, while an hour later the second half of a Shamrock Owen and Hunter match drew the second highest rated number on the record of Raw rating, doing a big 5.6. The weeks prior saw Shamrock also bumping viewers for matches against Nation members Owen Henry and Kama to end the month with over a 2 million viewer gain. DX started June in a 6-man elimination tag against the Nation, gaining over 300,000 viewers to a show-high 4.8 rating. A week later DX were in New York in a series of skits to hype the opening of the SummerSlam tickets in the Garden, while their promo segment to set up a tag match with LOD and DOA picked up over 700,000 viewers to a 4.4. X-Pac and Triple H in the first DX vs DX match bumped Raw to a 4.4 rating on June 15, with both continuing to do strong numbers the following week, gaining over 1 million viewers in matches with Dustin Runnels and Rock, while Hunter was also in a three-way against Owen and Shamrock on June 29 that ended in a DX Nation brawl, doing a 5.6 rating. Undertaker arrived in Chicago on June 1 with two major segments on the night, first coming out and cutting a worked shoot promo on Vince McMahon about how he only wanted him to protect his hand-picked top guys, bumping Raw over 500,000 viewers to a 4.6 rating, while also main eventing the show an hour later in the #1 Contenders match against Kane, doing a 4.4. Taker was part of a big opening segment on June 15, drawing a 5 rating to continue the gradual build to the Taker, Kane and Austin program, while coming from under the ring to take out Paul Bearer in the main event Hell in a Cell tag match, drawing a 4.6, with him also involved in one of Raw's main angles of the night the following week as Taker broke into Bearer's house to attack him in his living room in a segment that drew a near show-high 4.5 rating. Vince McMahon continued to be as big of an influence on screen as he was off it during the month, starting on the first Raw of June in Chicago with 3 major segments all over the show, including confrontations with Mick Foley and Taker, and the main event commentary to close the show, picking up almost 1 million viewers throughout. The next week Raw was again built on McMahon with the main event segment featuring him getting a Humanitarian of the Year award, gaining over 700,000 viewers to the peak of the show 4.8 rating, as Vince continued to be perhaps the most featured character on TV, connecting everyone involved in the main event program with Austin, Taker, Kane, Bearer and Mankind. Kane's first show as WWF Champion on June 29 was also the highest-rated show in Monday Night Wars history with a 5.4 rating, coming a day after the King of the Ring pay-per-view with Mick Foley, who deserves major credit for the massive viewership boost on the night, coming off the curiosity of the all-time memorable Hell in a Cell bumps that turned into the talk of the industry. Kane and Paul Bearer's follow-up winning promo opened Raw with its highest-ever audience, doing a 5.4 rating, setting up the Kane vs Austin title rematch, drawing a big 5.9 rating in the main event. Kane and Mankind did strong numbers in the weeks leading up to it, with Kane main eventing Raw against Taker on June 1, a tag match against Austin and Taker on June 15 jumped over 300,000 viewers to a 4.6 rating, while a week later Mankind cut a promo hyping the career highlight Hell in a Cell against Taker, including a match with Billy Gunn, with Kane coming out minutes later to close the show in a segment with Austin, drawing a peak 4.7 rating. with his momentum building up in what seemed like a weekly basis, along with WCW struggling to regain its momentum after weeks out of its regular time slot and the WWF taking its TV formatting and storytelling to the next level. June '98 was the month Steve Austin took the place of the top-drawing performer in the industry for the first time in his career, leading Raw to its biggest winning streak in Monday Night Wars history, with the show winning all 5 weeks during the month, including drawing the peak rating of the night in 4 of the 5 weeks. Austin started the month a day after a wild match with Mick Foley at the Over the Edge pay-per-view, coming out for commentary in the main event of Kane vs. Taker to set up Austin vs. Kane for King of the Ring. The next 3 weeks saw Austin in the build-up to the Kane match, first being attacked by him during McMahon's Humanitarian of the Year ceremony, drawing a peak 4.8 rating, while a week later Austin was involved in Raw's 2 biggest numbers of the night, first with the biggest opening segment in show history doing a 5 rating, and the main event Hell in a Cell doing a 4.6. Sable introduced Austin for his first appearance of the night at nearly 11 p.m. on June 22, ending up with him getting a bloodbath in the pay-per-view go-home segment doing another show-high 4.7, setting up Austin's biggest number of the month the following week. With huge boost of interest after King of the Ring, Austin challenged Kane for the rematch in Raw's highest ever opposed opening segment doing a 5.4. with the main event of Austin winning the title back from Kane after 24 hours, jumping over 800,000 viewers to a near-record 5.9 rating, Raw's second highest rated opposed segment only behind the Austin-McMahon confrontation on April 13, as Steve Austin ended with the highest rating average of his career to date, taking the top spot with a 5 rating.